Okay, the future isn't what it used to be. Well, looking at these guys, anything's possible in the future. Let me start by something a little bit controversial. The point of business is not really to make money. The point of business is to help people live better lives. And if you can do that, people will give you money. And to help people live better lives, we need to think about their expectations in the future, their mindsets, their habits, their lifestyle. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is that in relation to shopping and how we can begin to understand what the future, the notion of the store will be. We talk a lot about Generation X and Generation Y, or as we call it, why not? But we begin to think now about Generation C. It's not about demographics or social strata, it's about interests and behaviors. Generation C is about the consumer that's always connected, that demands to be able to collaborate with a brand and its social network. A consumer that feels it very important that it can co-create, contribute to the innovation of brands and retail. And a consumer that builds communities amongst its network, but also builds a brand community. And very importantly, a consumer that has a conscience. It cares about what a brand does and what it stands for. So it's not a group, but a way of life. It's a sea change. This new consumer represents a sea change in consumerism and retail. Do you know the number of brands that consumers say they trust halved between 2001 and 2010? The key value of every brand in the future will be trust and transparency, as was said by previous speakers. So in this world of too much stuff, in this world of everything being the same, the commoditization of product. I was asked a question yesterday in a speech asking, why are we talking about stories? Really, the only important thing is a product. Well, a product without a story is just a commodity. This commoditization is the enemy of branding and retail. To avoid this, we need to form deeper emotional connections with customers, shifting from transaction, merely buying and selling, to interaction, and from interaction to intimacy. How does a brand develop intimacy with its customer? The holy grail of branding and successful retail in the future will be intimacy. And there's a new consumption paradigm in this new world where participation is the new consumption. Shifting from brands talking to, or worse, at its customers, to entering and facilitating and encouraging a dialogue, a conversation between its customers and between the customers themselves. Shifting from last century marketing communications to today's marketing connection, from marcoms to marcons, where communication is about telling, instruction, letting them know, and connection is about letting them let you know. Really understanding and listening to customers and making them part of your brand, part of your innovation. As Marshall said, part of a platform. So shifting from this one-way message, this constant messaging, to this idea of adding an entertainment component, whatever that entertainment is for your particular category and brand. And very importantly, giving the facility to share that entertainment, to share that experience. Brand connectedness is about creating ideas that customers want to share. Stefan Orlander. From a great book called Velocity. I urge you to pick that book up with Stefan Orlander and Ahmed Ajaz. Did you know that if you went to Starbucks and you looked at all the combinations, there'll be 6,000 combinations of products that you can buy. And it would take you 17 years if you had one a day to finish all of them. There was a great piece of research done in a supermarket in a jam category where the jam, where there was 24 lines of jam, and the customers passing that category, only 3% of them purchased. When those line of jams reduced to 6, the purchase number went up to 30%. A very similar thing with Procter & Gamble with Head & Shoulders. They reduced their line from 26 to 15 lines of Head & Shoulders, for God's sake, and their sales went up by 10%. It's a choice paradox. Too much choice kills choice. We call it stuffication. So don't just give people choice. Help them to choose. Edit to amplify. Apparently, a drill in the UK is used for an average of 6 minutes in its life. And there's a move from an asset-heavy to an asset-light existence that presents a significant opportunity for the sharing economy. We're all urbanizing. Our dwellings are getting smaller with more and more one-person households. We want to share expertise and experience of products that we buy. We want to create communities. So the sharing economy delivers on all these changes in society, as well as the green agenda. Next door is a private social network for neighborhoods to share products and share services. It's a growth of temporary ownership. It's access that matters, often more than ownership. Shifting from buying to hiring. There's lots of different brands now, sites that are looking at not creating revenue models for hiring products as opposed to just selling them, particularly in the luxury environment, and also in the toy sector. Every product and service that can be shared will be shared. Mark Zuckerberg. And shopping is further and further polarizing into functional and recreational, where functional is about destination and comparison and speed and convenience, and recreational is about all the things that were written there. Impulsive, surprising, about discovery, connoisseurship. And on the recreational side, there's two sort of areas that we look at. One is the idea of storytelling, of sensory immersion, whether that's a Heinz pop-up store, Heinz environment. Heinz are no longer about 57 varieties. Heinz developed a physical experience for its customers to own the concept of home, thinking about the emotive connotations that is about home, shifting from product, 57 varieties, to a much more emotional, if you like, platform, as was mentioned before. And story is a great concept around a changing story, a shop more like a magazine, more like a piece of media. And the second is about belonging and shared mindsets and social grouping. Shops that bring together people with shared passions and interests. Montreux Jazz Cafe, this is all about, obviously, jazz and music, but it's also a hybrid offer, shopping, food and beverage, and entertainment. There's also a thirst for authenticity, shifting from stuff, products, which are more and more shifting online, to mementos. Shops are going to be where you buy mementos, a memory of the experience. So what will happen in the shop? Well, this is where products will be customized, products will be shared, products will be part of a social gathering. Shops will change in their nature from shelves and shelves of products to this idea of taking home a memento, a memory of the experience. But do you need the product in your store anymore anyway? With lots and lots of developments and ideas around digital shopping in a store environment, or in this case, in a store window, or in an island situation in a railway station. So buying products digitally and getting them delivered. But I think in the future, brands will discourage customers from taking delivery. Every revenue model we see, delivery is a pain and is a loss-making process. So brands will encourage customers, reward customers from going to the store to collect. But that brings the big subject up of, so therefore, what is the collect experience? We believe that the collect experience will be at the heart of shopping, will be at the heart of shops, will be at the heart, I think, of shopping centres. And the big debate in the industry now is, what can that collect experience be? Well, this is where we'll have events, this is where we'll have demonstrations, we'll have sociability and food and beverage, and it will be a concierge-type collect experience, which will be the heart of shopping. But it can be something very, very functional and 24-hour lockers, but it can be, as I say, something far more experiential. So the collect experience, every retailer, we believe, must have a strategy for their range of collect experiences. And at the heart of the future of shopping is personalization and customization. Every brand, every retailer must think about how it will develop its service proposition to be personalized in some way, how it relates to its own category and its customers. You know, Amazon has, at last count, 140 million customers and 140 million personal stores. As a retailer, when you see that, it makes you really, really think about how you're going to take the idea of personalization and introduce it to your service proposition. This is one of my favorites, actually, is the sort of idea of very simple personalization. It's Asian Paints in India, and they have an application, and you walk around the store, and you scan in all the things that you want for your home, whether it be curtains and carpets and paint and cushions and the like. And you send that to them, that file to them, and they prepare a lovely sort of coffee table book of your look for your house. It's just their take on creating a part of a personalized service proposition. Of course, technology plays a big part in this, and there'll be 3D body scanners for taking measurements and dimensions before you try clothes on. And this will eventually be done at home remotely. A big part of personalization in the future will be 3D printing. Stop dribbling my water. We've been speaking about 3D printing for 4 or 5 years, and it's a particular passion of mine. And who here has heard or knows about 3D printing? Hands up? No. I'll shut up then. I'll carry on. 2 or 3 years ago, no one would have put their hand up. I mean, this is not about just another bit of kit on a desk to play with. This is tantamount to a complete change, a complete shift of consumerism. I don't think it's going to replace mass manufacture, by no means, but it will be integrated with mass manufacturing to create mass niching of products. And the opportunity in retail for 3D printing is quite amazing. I mean, if we imagine what a future Lego store might be, I mean, a future Lego store might be a design studio with a 3D printing facility where you can design and make your Lego pieces in the store. So completely shifting the idea of a store. And there's collaborations with Shapeway and Nokia and how you can really create personalized components. But as the economist said, this is a new industrial revolution. So shifting back to shopping for a second, we've developed this idea of the 5 emotions of shopping. Every kind of retail experience needs to kind of encompass these 5 emotions. First is me time, renewal, convenience, reward, pampering. The second is connecting, this idea of sharing and belonging and networking. The third is questing, the idea of discovery and play and curiosity. The fourth is self-branding and signaling, creating status from a brand and how it reflects you as a person and your experiences. And the fifth is the idea of doing good, caring about what a brand stands for and its role in society. And part of the future of shopping is ritualizing, creating rituals for your brand in a shopping environment. How do you own a ritual? Not a logo or a kind of communication, but an emotional ritual. It's not about habits or instruction. It's about rich meanings and lasting connections and loyalty, ultimately. Nespresso is great at doing this online, in their stores, bringing online and offline together in the store to create these fantastic sort of ritualized experiences around sort of colors of their coffee. We call it ritualtainment. It's a small step from ritualizing behavior to true passion. So become a story owner rather than a product owner. Co-create your story with your customers. Retailers need to stop thinking about making shopping entertaining and concentrate on making entertainment shoppable. Don't do the shopping and add a bit of entertainment. Think about it as entertainment and make it, monetize it. And Recipes in London is a really great example of how you can create entertainment around the idea of a food store. So as Mariam Saltzman said, this is the era of the surprising, the spontaneous, the unplanned, and the serendipitous, happy coincidences. How do you plan happy coincidences in your stores? Shops must be serendipity machines that encourage serendipity and these happy coincidences between customers and engagement with brands. So forget sales per square meter. Let's think about ideas per square meter, engagement per square meter, senses per square meter, surprise, delight, How can you measure the amount of times a customer smiles in your store? Of course, I'm being facetious. I don't mean forget sales per square meter, but this is the route to more sales per square meter, thinking about your store as an emotional connection with your customers and not just selling stuff on shelves. And the customer journey is being more and more complicated, where from the days of being on your laptop at home, doing some research and going in the store and buying. Now we can research at home, we can get in the train, buy the product on our mobile, get it delivered at our office, and go at lunchtime to the store and change it. And that's just one of a million type of combinations of how the customer journey is really getting complicated. So it's not about e-commerce or m-commerce or social commerce. It's about all commerce. It's about a reciprocal ecosystem across screen and in real life, and how you bring those together. It's not about a system of channels. I've never heard anyone say, I'm going multi-channel shopping. No? It's about a customer-centered, personalized service ecosystem. It's about the service. It's about omni-service, not omni-channel. Brian Solis articulates this really, really well in his book, The End of Business as Usual. It's not about ecosystems, it's about egosystems. It's about yourself, the person, the individual, the customization, the personalization of your services. So every business must rethink its strategy to be social. I don't mean Facebook, I don't mean likes. I mean really rethinking the business at its core to be a socialized business starting from the inside. There's some great examples earlier on from Marshall about how he calls it a platform, this socialization of the thinking of your business, making it from a reactive business to what is the holy grail of all business, which is being a predictive business. It's not about connections and content. Content, now a commodity. It's about relevance and context. Social media really often is about noise. We want signal. The meaning of that noise, the relevance of the noise. So from content to context, from networks to niche works, personal networks, from social graph about people to interest graph. The glue that holds that together is the interest, the passion, the relevance. Shift from consumer, people that just buy things, to champion. Identify the champions of your brand. And encourage them to be the narrator of your story, be the champion of what you stand for and what you believe. Again, Brian Solis talks about the audience of audiences. It's not about the mass audience, it's about identifying the champion and getting to their audiences, their social network through these champions, and how you incentivize those champions in your brand to reach those others. Needle is a great example of how you can develop a platform for creating champions and leveraging them. Brian Solis said, the audience with audiences is the new consumer landscape. Social, location, mobile. How do you develop this engagement through platforms that are socialized, geolocated, mobile, and very important, gamified? Neiman Marcus does this really superb job with this application that encourages customers to react and create engagement with one-to-one with staff. So you walk into the store, they know exactly who you are, what your preferences are, what you've bought in the past, and you can engage with them day to day. Real pioneer on this thing. So it's not about customer relationship management, it's about social relationship management, and how do you create platforms and the systems to leverage the information, the sentiment, the meaning behind what customers are saying and talking about to offer them better, personalized services, but to also encourage them to be part of your innovation. Only 22% of companies have considered the implication of social, Economist Intelligence Unit. And gamification is a big part of that. How do you really use applied gaming, the idea of gamification in your brand engagement with customers? And we talk about the 4 M's. Every gamification strategy must have mystery, must have mastery, challenge, membership, and reward and meaning. The customer wants to feel like a protagonist, the hero of your brand story, as opposed to the victim of your campaign. Gaming has a lot to teach us about how to make meaningful connections, Stefan Orlander. And I think the big next thing is the Internet of Things, how things are going to be connected to other things to create this engagement and interest and story. Wine is one of my favorite. It's a wine brand in a store. You're looking at a display in a store, a merchandising display of wines. They have an application, a food application. You walk into the store, you choose the food you're going to have that evening, and the wine illuminates according to what food you've selected on your app. So the application is talking to the display. I don't need to talk to you guys. I'm sure there's lots of experts here, but I think the next big revolution is going to be money, mobile money, payment systems in retail. It's going to have a massive implication on the physicality of a store and the employment of staff. So let's forget checkouts, forget queues, let's think flow, forget cashier, let's think concierge, forget pay and wrap, let's think reward and return, forget farewell, let's think fan, forget till, let's think thrill. And the interesting thing, the difference between till and thrill, is HR. Actually, it's all about how you redeploy people who used to sit at tills and just took money to how they become people who really engage with customers. To allow you to emotionally connect with customers who are abandoning ubiquity, abandoning cookie-cutter shops, cookie-cutter shopping centers, and cookie-cutter brands. Brand communities built on strong relationships between customers, merging the online and the offline, what we call in line with customers' interests and passions and social networks. In the future, customers will not buy brands, they'll join them. So give your customers return on their time. Think digital, but deliver analog. That's what we're passionate about. What is the analog experience that's encouraged with digital engagement? In the future, customers don't fail because they do the wrong things. They fail because they continue to do what used to be the right things for too long. It's no longer enough to do slightly better than before. Future success will be determined by rethinking and reimagining. So our message is, this is very complicated. This frightens the life out of most of our clients in retail. But our message is, do and learn, try something, fail successfully, don't wait and see. Because if you want to be 100% sure, you'll be 100% late in this new world. And in the future, there will only be two types of retail business, the quick and the dead. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was a fascinating talk and loads of ideas to take on board there. I'd just like to put it out to the audience first. If there are any questions at all that anybody would like to ask of Ibrahim. Can I see any hands? No. Oh yes, there is one there. Jordana, can you get there? Can you see in the middle there? Are the slides available?
No.
No, he's not collaborating.
Well, I'll give you one of these after.
Is it available to everyone who, are you making the slide deck
No,
available?
what we'll do a summary and we'll send it over to the organisers, but we don't issue the slides, no.
Okay. A summary of the slides will be made available through the organisers. Any other questions? Let me put a question to you, because I'm fascinated by all of that change. How might it affect, how would you envisage the notion of a shop in the future? What will it look like?
Well, I certainly believe it's not going to be about a concrete box on a 10-year lease any longer. And we can see that as evidence where, on average, 15% of vacancies in the UK and the high street and shopping malls, other than exception of a few. So it won't be something which is about architecture. For us, shop design is not about architecture. It's about creating not spaces, not designing spaces, but designing journeys. It's about shifting from the physicality of space to the emotion of place. Right. And therefore, shops, to answer your question directly, shops are going to be much softer, much more digital, much more temporary. I think designing stores will be a bit more like designing stage sets. And I think they'll be much more collaborative. Brands will come together. There'll be more multi-category, the fusing of categories. More about people's interests and less about categories, because I think retailers are all structured around categories. If you look at Carrefour and Tesco, it's all about the buyers of fruit and the buyers of wine and the buyers of beer. That's not how customers shop, and it's not how customers live. And I think shops will respond much more to the way customers live and the way they want to spend their time. But I think shops will be more sociable. There'll be a much more integration of food and beverage and retail. So food and beverage will be at the heart of many, many stores. And of course, the collect experience will be. And there's many, many other things, but I think that will be very important. And ritualization will be a big part of that as well.
Are there any brands or retail brands that are doing this in a way that you foresee being the future?
Yeah, Story are doing it. Camper are doing very interesting things. John Lewis on a big store format are doing really interesting things as well. Selfridges are playing with some really nice things, I think, with their kind of shop windows and the way they integrate food and beverage and retail. Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, off the top of my head, but yeah.
Do you see the way Apple builds its stores into the platform, as it were, ecosystem, as a sign of the way forward for retail?
I always try my hardest in a presentation not to mention Apple.
Yeah, everyone else has.
Everyone does. We all know how they've reinvented retail, how in a particular location, Planet Retail consultancies say that they turn over 30 times more per square meter than most of their other stores in the vicinity. It's interesting how Apple in shopping centres have become an anchor store, but as part of an inline stores, not at the ends of a shopping centre. So they really, really are very, very successful. They've completely reinvented the notion of shopping, I believe, and it touches upon a lot of things what we're saying. Yeah. But it's kind of easy doing it with the product range they have. Try doing it with sort of fruit and veg and shoes. It's much more difficult. So that's why that's the challenge, and that's what we're really grappling with, to do it with a day-to-day kind of shopping.
Right. Anybody had any thoughts or questions they'd like to throw to Ibrahim here? Can I see anyone? Any hands? Any hands? No. Okay, well, that's been a fantastically exciting and interesting look into the future of shopping. Thank you once again, Ibrahim.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.